is more persons will join in. I that cooperation will allow what is want to be the peace, O Lord God. I just pray you will take some our minds and our hearts as we worship you in different Lord through this that will cover and everyone is here will learn something substantial from this. Lord, I pray over this cover over each and every one of us. Lord, I pray that this will be a full session, O Lord God, and that you will protect us and guide us through this time. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay, so welcome again, and we are now doing a small that in line. Okay, I'm sorry for the connectivity issues. So we'll continue with the devotional exercise where we will be having a Bible reading that will be done by Sister Celia. The reading is taken from Proverbs 1, reading from verses 8 through to 15. So that's Proverbs 1, reading from 8 through to 15.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yes, the person who should be doing that reading, unfortunately for her, she has a issue with her phone. So I'm just going to quickly read for her, just to fill in. The morning's reading comes to us from Proverbs 1, reading from verse 8 through to 15. My son, hear the instruction of your father, and do not forsake the law of your mother. for there will be graceful ornament on your head and chains about your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. If they say, come with us, let us lie in wait to shed blood. Let us lurk secretly for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them alive like Sheol, and whole like those who go down to the pit. We shall find all kinds of precious possessions. We shall fill our houses with spoil. Cast in your lot among us. Let us all have one purse. 15 and last, my son, do not walk in the way with them. Keep your foot from their part. The word of the Lord, and we honor it by saying, thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God. Thank you, Sister Moses. We'll now be having a special selection that will be played now. Just as our theme for today speaks about an ever-changing world, we'll, instead of meeting face-to-face, we now connect virtually. So while it wants to be something live, it will be done. We're having a special selection that will be played.
Yes, Alexia, play your song because I don't hear it coming on.
I am right now. Wasn't holding you up, so there's nothing I can do
Okay,
to
the song
let
is played.
you down.
It's on, it's on.
Wasn't there a trophy to make you proud? I'll never be more loved than I am right now. Going through a storm, but I won't go down. I hear your voice, carried in the rhythm of the wind to call me out. You would cross an ocean, so I wouldn't drown. You've never been closer than you are right now. You are Jireh. You are enough. Jireh, you are enough. And I will be content in every circumstance. You are Jireh, you are enough. Forever enough, always enough, more than enough. Forever enough, always enough, more than enough. I'll never be more loved than I am right now. Wasn't holding you up, so there's nothing I can do to let you down. It doesn't take a trophy to make you proud. I'll never be more loved than I am right now. You are Jireh, you are enough. Jireh, you are enough. And I will be content in every circumstance. You are Jireh, you are enough. You are Jireh, you are enough. Jireh, you are enough. And I will be content in every circumstance. You are Jireh, you are enough.
Okay, so as our colleague song, you are Jireh, you are enough. So it's important for us to know as youths, in keeping with the theme, that keeping faith with the word is in an ever-changing world, that for youngsters, young leaders, he'll always be enough for us. He will always be just a call away, regardless of where we find ourselves, whatever situation we might find ourselves, right? And I pride myself in a song that I found on YouTube. I play it every morning that says, by myself, alone, I cannot do it, right? But with you, God, I can do anything. So at this time, I just want to thank those who put together this session for our young people like myself to see that even in an ever-changing world, it's important that we keep our faith and we can rely on each other, right? And God is always right there with us. So we'll be having Brother Adrian.
Good morning, everyone. It is with great pleasure that the Westmoreland Baptist Youth Association welcomes you to its Leadership Seminar 2022. It is a first-time venture, one that will hopefully occur more frequently over the upcoming years. We are delighted to have representatives from all 6 circuits within the Westmoreland Baptist Association. This constitutes approximately 20 churches on the Robbins River Mission. We take this opportunity to highlight each circuit and their pastors. Please feel free to use the emoji and the chat to highlight your presence as each circuit is named. Bethel Town, Reverend Ross. Sutcliffe Mount, Reverend Peart. Savanna-la-mar, Reverend Wilson. Hebron, Pastor White. Fullersfield, Reverend Fowles. St. Leonard, Reverend Barnett. Robbins River, Reverend Coley. We must acknowledge the many youths, youth leaders, and specially invited guests who have chosen to be here with us this morning. We applaud those who have volunteered to be panelists and will thus share their opinions on a variety of topics. Additionally, we are pleased to have with us our notable guest speaker, Mrs. Shaneil, Service-Alleyne, and our panel moderator, Mr. Tristan Richards. We also have with us today our former parish representative, Mrs. Sancia Stewart-Williams, and also Mr. Nerick Griffiths, a lay preacher who presently sits at the head of the National Spanish Teachers Association of Jamaica. We extend a hearty welcome to each person named and eagerly await today's proceedings. I will now hand over to Sister Simpson.
Hello, good morning. Are you hearing me?
Yes, good morning.
Yes, I am hearing you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Sister Daisha, Sister Sterling, for such an engaging and thorough welcome. At 14 years old, I eagerly await the many leadership positions that you will take part in the future. Well done, ma'am. Well done. I have the responsibility to introduce our chairperson and panel moderator. I have dubbed them the indomitable Tristans. Firstly, we have Mr. Tristan Richards. In fact, we should say Pastor Tristan Richards, as we foresee his blessed journey and successes at the United Theological College, where he's presently a first-year student pastor. He's the former St. Anne's Baptist Youth Association president, and very recently, he served within the Fullersfield circuit as our pastor. He's an individual who has freely availed himself as a panel moderator for us today, and we await his directives with bated breath. Then we also have our chairperson, our 13 years old chairperson, Mr. Tristan Dixon. He has agreed to be our chairperson today. He's a Christian, maybe young, but he has been charting an exemplary path over the years. Tristan has already accomplished so much as a young man. A former prefect at his prep school, he was crowned the National Reading Parish Champion in 2021. He was the president of the Kiwanis Kids Club for some time, has received innumerable awards and outstanding performance plaques for academics, debating, sports, spelling bee, swimming, karate. An active church member, he has received many certificates, trophies, medals from the Family Bible Hours Sunday School competition. This is a young man who has accomplished quite a bit. I am very proud and humbled and in awe of these two extraordinaires, the Tristans, and feel excited at their future prospects. So even before I welcome Tristan, you would have seen on the order that there is an icebreaker coming. And the icebreaker will be 5 simple questions placed in the chat. We're inviting persons to send in their responses to all five questions at once, because their prize is coming. So don't do them one at a time, sending the 5 answers at once. And that will be our first icebreaker. There's a prize coming, so remember, answer all 5 questions at once in the chat. So as we go on, help me to welcome the first of the Tristans, our indomitable chairperson, Mr. Tristan Dixon.
Thank you very much, Sister Simpson. Good morning, everyone. Leadership is an individual's ability to influence, motivate, and enable others to contribute meaningfully to one's cause. Today, the Westmoreland Baptist Association Youth has embarked on this quest with the theme, Keeping Faith with the Word in an Ever-Changing World, Embracing Faithful Leaders. This scripture tells us in Philippians 4, verse 13, that we can do all things through Christ, which strengthens us, and that we are to trust in the Lord and not to lean onto thine understanding. Thus, with Jesus, all things are possible, and indeed, we can all become faithful leaders with God as our guide. Thank you. Now, we will have the greetings. 1. Outgoing Parish Youth President, Sis Sancia Stewart-Williams. 2. Westmoreland Baptist Association Moderator, Reverend Junior Ross, followed by Christian Life Tips done by Nelle.
Good morning, everyone. I greet you in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, our soon coming King. We were chosen to be leaders, and so we ought to lead in the best way possible. These are different times, definitely not what we are used to. Before the pandemic, we would comfortably have our youth fellowship meetings in church and then walk home, but we had to make a turn and have our meetings virtually. God did not give up on us. He gave us the knowledge to fit in. Hence, we had our meetings on numerous virtual platforms. It was not easy to get it done, but we gave it a good try. Regular meetings were held along with a concert, among other things, to ensure that we were engaged in worshiping the Lord. Let us continue to do the Lord's work as best as possible, no matter if it be face-to-face or virtually. Let us not allow anyone or anything to stop us from worshiping the Lord and doing his work. He promised to never leave us nor forsake us. Let us continue to play our part and never lose our hope, never lose our joy, never lose our faith, and definitely not lose our praise. I wish for you a blessed session and a spirit-filled 2022.
Good morning, my brothers and sisters, fellow young people. The pleasure is mine on behalf of the Westmoreland Baptist Association to welcome you to this platform. It is indeed encouraging to know that as young people, you can meet at such a time like this and to look after a matter of such great magnitude. Leadership is one of the things that is, well, leadership, I should say, is things that is lacking across the world, not only in Christian community, but in the world at large. I trust and pray that as you discuss and share, you open yourselves up for the direction that God would lead you. If we follow the pathway that God has set for us, we will do exceedingly well. The challenging times are upon us, and we suffer from a lot of shortbacks and shortcomings, but nothing is impossible with the God whom we serve. So brace yourselves as young leaders, because the journey might just be rough, but with Christ in the vessel, you can smile at any storm. I trust and pray that God will guide us and keep us throughout the presentations and throughout this meeting today. And whatever we learn, we pass on to those who are not here. May God bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you and give you his peace as you serve the Lord with joy in your hearts. Thank you, and may God continue to bless you.
Hey Nelly Beans, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys some advice for young Christians. So I have 5 tips, so let's begin. Number 1, try to read your Bible every day. Reading your Bible every day helps you to understand more about God and to have a stronger relationship with him. Second tip, be a good example to others. Being a good example will show others how you behave and they will want to know God for themselves. Number 3, listening to gospel music. When you listen to a certain song, it impacts how you think. So listening to music about God will help you to think about God and be connected with him. Tip number 4, forgive. It is not always easy to forgive those who have hurt you, but in order to be forgiven by God, you have to forgive. And my last tip is to tell others about God. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and
Thank you. I hope you were inspired by the tips given. Now, we will have our panel discussion. Our panel discussion will be moderated by student pastor Tristan Richard, who is currently enrolled at UTC. He is a first-year student who strives to do God's will by performing his work here on earth. Let us applaud him as he leads us in this section.
Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for this invitation to share with the Westmoreland Baptist Association youth as we talk about keeping faith with the word in an ever-changing world. And we're talking about embracing faithful leaders. Just a correction to the welcome that was made, which I appreciate. Didn't serve as a pastor for the church. I was only a student pastor in the circuit, and not as the pastor for the church. But I'm glad to be here, glad to be amongst young people, and I'm glad that we can have such a wonderful discussion about embracing faithful leaders. So we just want to get straight into it. Our panelists for today are, we have from Fullersfield, we have Mikayla Hay. She's here, right? Mikayla Hay is here. We have from Hebron, we have Lelanie Thomas. I hope I'm not mispronouncing the names. Lelanie Thomas from Hebron. From Savanna-la-mar, from Sav, we have Forrester. Forrester. From Sutcliffe, we have Shaneil Francis.
Good morning, everyone.
Yes. And from St. Leonards, we have Jolyne Johnson.
Good morning.
Morning. All right. So it's good. So we can get straight into the discussion. So as we said, the topic is keeping faith with the word in an ever-changing world. And we're speaking about embracing faithful leaders. So I'm going to begin by asking this question. We want to make this panel discussion as interactive as possible. A few times one or two times I will, get feedback from the rest of us on the call, just to, see if there's anything anybody would like to say. But first question I would like to ask, do you think you are provided, or we are provided with enough leadership opportunities? And I want to give you reasons for your answer. Let us begin with Hebron, Lelanie Thomas. Do you think we are provided with enough leadership opportunities?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Yes, we are given enough leadership opportunities in our church, such as to partake in praise and worship, taking up of the offering, reading of the Bible, and moderating services. Thank you.
All right. Yes, thank you, Lelanie. All right. Mikayla, what say you?
I do believe that we are provided with enough leadership opportunities in the church. I say this because youth are allowed to lead the youth group, participate in church services. They are also allowed to lead Sunday school occasionally.
All right. Thank you. Shaneil, what say you on this topic?
All right, so for me, however, I believe we don't get enough opportunities on my side, because there are not enough occasions where youth are given the opportunity to lead. And I also believe there should be like youth pastors in the church, because what say something happened to the pastor, instead of getting somebody like from afar, we could have somebody in the church as a youth who is in training that can take over.
All right, I hear that. I hear that perspective. All right. Trey, what say you?
Good morning, everyone.
Yes, hearing so clearly. All right, I'll come back to Trey. Jolyne, what's your thought on this?
Yes, good morning. I think we do because we have like children church. We have Sundays where children do take part, where youths do take part in church, but also it goes back to us as youths to show our consistency or interest. And once we are willing to do it, we have members of the church that is willing to work with us. So it's all do with the mindset of how we think, because even in Bible studies, most times Bible studies keep, we have to take part in those stuff in order to be able to say, once we start in small groups like the Bible studies, we are willing to be more, to say, have the strength and the faith, the determination to go on a Sunday morning to lead church as a youth. Because if you're stage fright, if you have that fear to say you are nervous, then it have to start small. So I think the small starting with our church is gradually a way of keeping going up and having faith in doing it.
Right, good, wonderful. We have Trey now. Trey can talk now. Or still having internet connectivity?
Morning.
Yes. Morning.
Could you repeat the question for me, please?
So it's do you think that you're provided with enough leadership opportunities in the church? And you must give reasons for your answer.
Yes, we do. As to the seniors would allow us young people to lead in church as we are the next upcoming generation. So they will try to pour and implant all of that leadership skills into us from the youth stage, so we could be the corner and the center stone of the church.
All right. Sounds good. All right. So continue with you, Trey. Do you think that we need youth leaders in the church?
Yes, we do. As it is well to say, in this time it is better for the youths because we would have experienced things in this time more better than the seniors, and it is easier for us youths to interact with other youths that are out there who doesn't have a church home or who really wants to know what it felt like in a church family. And it is better, yes, for us young people to interact with them instead of the seniors.
All right. Good. Love that answer. Mikayla, what say you? Do you think we need youth leaders in the church?
Yes, we do. I believe that the church is not a church without its youths. Youth leaders are necessary because though youths are often seen as reckless, there is a lot to be learned from us. Even the Bible made mention that we must change and become like little children to enter the kingdom of heaven.
All right, good answer. Good, like that. All right, Lelanie.
Yes, we do need youth leaders because our senior members are getting ill. They can't manage to come out to church anymore, or they may pass on. As such, we do need someone young who is more capable to fill into that position. Also, youths attract youths, meaning they will be able to minister to their own peers much better than seniors would. Young people feel comfortable expressing themselves around their own peers, knowing that they are similar in age group, experiencing similar situations, and know how to adjust or understand their point of view better than seniors would. Youths are more pleasant with each other too because of generation gap. It is a little challenging for seniors to understand us as youths. Thank
All
you.
right. Yes. All right. Shaneil and Jolyne. Same question. You think we need youth leaders in the church?
All right, so I agree with my fellow panelists because in everything there's a need for continuity. Therefore, the church is not different. All the members will get sick, as one of my fellow panelists said, and you'll need the youth to continue the work of God.
All right. Miss Jolyne.
Yes, so first we need guidance. And as young people see a lot of young people in the church, it depends on the situation or the circumstances that they are experiencing in life. If they relate to other young people that is living a Christian life that they can see as example and that have faith in every situation, they can get through a lot. So they're looking at them as guidance and support. So that's my main point on it. Guidance and support. We do.
All right. Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Anybody from the wider
No, sir.
the wider audience would like to just give a answer? It's a short answer. Do you think that the church needs youth leaders? Anybody?
Yes, I think so.
Yes.
Why? We need future planning. We need persons who are going to say the next generation who will carry on what we would have started or what others would have started. It is important for futuristic thinking that we plan now for the future, and the youths would be the ones that we would be depending on, that we would need to work with. And I'm so very proud of those who are on right now.
Oh, yes, indeed. We are really proud of them. Yes, we are proud of them. All right. Thank you, Sister Simpson. All right. To Mikayla, first question I want to ask you, what is your expectation of members of your church?
I expect the members of my church to help guide us as youths on the path of Christ without judging and defining us by our mistakes. I also expect them to socialize with the youths in order to create a safe space where they can feel acceptance and genuine love.
All right, good. That's your expectation of what the church must do for the youth of the church. All right. So I'm going to go and I'm going to ask Lelanie. Since that's what is it that you like most about church? What do you like most? What do you like about your church?
My church family is very supporting, and they motivate us and give us the space to express ourselves, and they are pleasant with us, and whenever conflicts arise with us as youth, they address it in a calm manner, no matter how small even our achievements are. Even in school, church, or just life in general, they will recognize you and tell you to continue to do what you're doing, to continue to work hard. And even sometimes they too tell you that they love you. And as youth, to hear that from your church family, it is very good.
Good, that's good. You know, that they encourage you and guide you along the right path, as they would have been there before, and so they have experiences. Probably the experiences might not be the same as what you are experiencing now, but you know, they can guide you along the way that you need to go. So since that is what you like about your church, Lelanie, but you know, sometimes as young people, sometimes we feel as if there are some things that we can change, or some things we feel we can probably modify. So if you were to be a leader in the church, Trey, tell me, what will you change about your church? If anything.
Well, for me, I would try to implant. You heard me?
I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Yes, I would try to do stuff that will get the youths active and involved in church, as we could even come up on like weekends. We could have our BX sale. We could even cook some food, go to the infirmary, go to homes, help the homeless, go around, help the church persons who cannot help themselves, help them around in their house, help them around shopping, and the certain things that the good Samaritans will do, right? In other words, young people coming to church now will not want to be like the seniors where just come sit down, pray. And so young people would want to do like other activities such as dancing, singing, and that is what's going to keep them active. Because if we do not do this as young people, we are going to drift away and we're going to turn back to the streets.
So you're not saying that we should do away with prayer though, because I mean that's important. But just if you want, you love those other things to be done as well.
But remember, you have to keep them active. You can't just and
you finish?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So that's what you would like to. That's what you would like to change about your church. Yes. All right. We take your point. Yes, man. We take your point. We take your point about that. All right. So I'm gonna ask Jolyne from St. Leonards. What kind of support do you expect from your church as a youth leader? What kind of support do you expect from your church?
You hear me? My point is
yes.
Participate in the gospel. Meaning teach us how to learn more about the Bible. To encourage us in doing like Bible quiz and support. And in that way, we can learn how to support others, how to be obedient in regards to the laws of the church, because they do have their own doctrine, right? So in that case, we have to learn how to be more brought up in laws and rules, because every entity have their guidance. So it's just the guidance and the support to practice how to be in the singing of the hymns, because not only the life gospel is good enough, but the old hymns is sometimes the words of the hymns can really make you meditate on how to deal with your daily situation. That's for me.
All right. Because sometimes young people don't need old time hymns, But sometimes when you really sit down and think on them and meditate on, you can really we like the upbeat songs and the songs, the dance, and get into the groove and that. Right. So sometimes when you have these songs, at the same time, you don't want to do away with those because you don't want to do away with those old time songs, the hymns and the old time songs, because sometimes those songs just like the new songs. Some of the new songs they have meaning to, and we can understand.
Yes.
Thank you, Jolyne. All right, so we are not oblivious to the fact that we are living in very difficult times, as much as we are living in pandemic times. We still have a pandemic that is out there. We have to be wearing masks. The very fact that we are meeting through this medium is testament to the fact that we are living in. We're still in COVID times. So the question two, to Shaneil is this. How has COVID-19 affected youth in particular? It has in particular in where you are in Sutcliffe.
All right, so is everybody hearing me properly?
Yes, we're hearing. Yes,
all right, so the COVID-19 pandemic has affected youths in my church through their participation and attendance. I must be honest, before the COVID-19 pandemic, we have this problem, but since the lockdowns, the curfews, and the no movement days, it has decreased attendance significantly. And that's how I see it affecting youths in our church.
All right. And I'm sure youth fellowship as well, you can't have your fellowship on a regular basis anymore.
Exactly. And then you have the problem of them is either they have Wi-Fi problem or they don't have data. So it would pose a problem to have online youth fellowship as well.
Are you seeing there's a lack of interest?
I believe yes and no. For most persons, you would see that there's a lack of interest because you would realize that they would find time to do other stuff. But when it's time to come to church and actually partake in youth fellowship, they don't have the time while they would make time for other stuff.
Understood, yes. All right. No. So we're talking about, as we said, it's keeping faith with the word. We're embracing faithful leaders. So we're speaking about faithful leadership. Now, I realize that N. Griffiths, I'm not sure the first name, so forgive me if I just say N. Griffiths has raised their hand. You can go ahead and speak.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not from the Baptist Church, but I've been listening to the discussion, and the last point that was just raised about persons being interested in other matters and not being interested in church, it kind of pricked me of sorts in that I believe what the issue is amongst young people is that the gospel does not appeal to them. And a number of us would have found ourselves in situations. Yes, for me, having grown up in church, it's a given. My interest is naturally there. I was born into this. But for a person who was converted into it after having experienced a number of other things, it's a different situation altogether. And then we don't have the kind of support systems in place for somebody who was accustomed to living the dance hall lifestyle to say, all right, this is how you live. Part of our general problem in churches across the world is that we keep insisting that persons ought to live righteously, but we don't tell them how to do so. I know that because that was the same thing I struggled with when I was younger. I used to attend many conventions, as many church services as possible, and based on the theme of the event, I would get so excited. And I remember back in 2012, when my church had convocation that year, and the theme was preparation for the transformation. I said to myself, I cannot miss this. This is the message that I've been waiting for over 15 years. And I packed my bags and I went to convocation from it started Thursday morning. Church was going up on bus, but I made the journey ahead of time. I took the bus myself and I went up because I didn't want to miss a thing. I was grossly disappointed. When I say grossly disappointed, I'm going to tell you what came out of it. Until later, about the closing message, then I got something out of the message. And I'm just gonna give you as brief a synopsis as I can. It's that when I sat and I listened to the main presenters presenting on this theme, preparation for the transformation, all that came out of it was the list of persons who would not make it into the kingdom of God. And I just want to underscore for this particular meeting that even the child who was just born knows who's going to hell. We don't need to hear that in church. We know. Now, the fact that I am here, I need you to be telling me how not to go to hell. And you can't just tell me to live right. Because had I known how to do that, I would not be here. Now, we all know our issues when it comes on to how we live and what we struggle with. We don't need anybody to remind us. What we need persons to be doing is telling us how now to be, as the Bible, as the Lord commanded us in the book of Matthew said, if any man decides to follow me, let him deny himself. What are the steps involved in denying yourself? A number of us are still at the point where we think it is okay to hide from God. A number of us have been in church 20 years, 30 years, and we have not yet gone before the God that we serve and say, God, you know me lie bad. It's one of my greatest struggles, and I have been trying and I can't get over it. We have not presented ourselves before the God that we serve to say, look, you say that you love the world in John 3 and verse 16. And according to what I've heard from church persons and persons in society, my type of sin is not acceptable, whatever it is for you. According to how they... I'm not sure. According to how society puts a level on different sinful acts, I don't know that you can love me or I'm a part of the group that you love. And we don't open those kinds of discussions for young people to say, look here, go talk to your God because he loves you with an everlasting love. And it's not you that he hates, but he hates the sinner. So we have to, he doesn't hate the sinner, he hates the sin, and he has already paid the price for the sin. So it means that there's nothing else left for you but love and unconditional love. What you need to do is, as he commanded us in his word, to come boldly before the throne and get mercy for your time of need. So we can sit and say that persons are not interested in church, but the reality is the gospel is good news, and we have not been giving good news to people. As a matter of fact, it seems like a load. It seems like pressure more than anything else when you decide to follow after Christ, and his word cannot lie. He says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And a number of us can testify that we have not seen the easy part and the light part all now. I get very passionate about these kinds of things because I know that young people struggle with this.
I get the point from where you are coming from. To be honest, I get the point from where you are coming from. That it might not be a case of you say it's a conflict. Let me put it this way: it probably is a conflict in messaging, in what. But you are quite right in what you said, that the gospel is, and that's what the gospel is. The gospel is indeed good news for everybody. And therefore, you see, we can't seek, or we can't seem to water down, if I could say it this way, we can't seem to water down the gospel to suit any, particular person. However, what you're saying is true, but what is also true is that many persons have not been since the onset of the pandemic, many persons have not been coming to church. It's not because there's no even broader ways of sharing the gospel. So what Shaneil was saying, she said it's a mixture of both, because persons find effort to do what they want to do. And if you are really passionate, if you are interested in doing something that is, of worth, you will put in the effort. Just as you put in the effort to do other things, you will find persons who will put in the very same effort, to do God's work. Because even with the pandemic, God's work doesn't stop. God's work still comes. And we still need, in times like these, to have faithful leaders who are exercising faithful leadership, and especially among our young people, because with the youth we can, and many, I'm a youth just like many of you, maybe different in age, but we can all attest that young people are easily distracted. You will find adults who are distracted, but you have young people are more easily distracted by the things of the world and the gravities of certain things. So it's a matter of where our priorities lie. That's what it all boils down to. And so just as how we can put our interest into anything that we are passionate about, it boils down also to being passionate about God, being passionate about God's work, and therefore putting in the required effort to fulfill God's work in the earth. Well, thank you very much. N. Griffith, I didn't get the first name, but thank you very much for your input. Really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And as Sister Simpson is saying, yes, it comes down to priority, and it does come down to our decision. Really comes down to our decision. Really comes down to it. Thank you very much. Mikayla, I'm going to ask you, how impactful do you think groups like, we have different auxiliaries in the church. We have the brotherhood, we have the generation, and the different auxiliaries, just like we have the youth auxiliary. But how impactful on a youth, how impactful are they? Do you have young people who are a part of those groups, the brotherhood and the federation?
Give me a minute. Okay, so I believe that these groups serve as a guideline for the youth. So if it is that these groups are executing their role in the church well, then the youth will mimic what they are demonstrating, thus helping them to grow in the church.
Right, that's true. Yes, it's really true. Really true. So therefore, the impact that these groups have, the young people can emulate them and they can put them into practice as well. So I want to ask Jolyne, what do you think are the characteristics of a good leader? The characteristics of a good leader in a youth fellowship, so that young people can be attracted, and to want to emulate you.
First, you have to have a good communication skill. In everything that you're doing, you have to know how to communicate with each other, and you have to be honest, transparent, consistency, because you're doing a ministry for the youths, not only for the youths, but also for the church. And so for other persons to live and expect you as an example that they can see what your joy come from. Because if they see that you are a good leader, you're a good listener, you're a good advisor, but at the same time, you're not living the life, then that can cause a lot, because persons look at you to say, oh, you are a Christian. And the way you look, the way you talk, the way you communicate with everyone have a lot to do with it. Because you go, for example, you're on the road and say a different type of person approach you. Not because they're not a Christian. That don't mean that you're not going to communicate with them, but also is the way that you communicate. You're not going to segregate persons based on their looks or their denomination or otherwise, but you communicate with them so that they can see God through you and how you live.
Yes, I really appreciate, I really like that, you seek to emulate positive values, good qualities, so that the young people, who you are leading, they can aspire to be just as how you are. Yes. So, Shaneil, I believe it's Shaneil. Yes. Tell us, describe two things that would make your church more youth-friendly. Because I remember you said in the beginning that your church, you're not provided with enough opportunities, but tell us two things that would make your church more youth-friendly.
All right, so for my church to be more youth-friendly, I believe there should be less pressure on the youths, meaning that, for example, you have a new youth visiting the church or one that hasn't come to the church in a long time. When you ask them like to do something like pray or read the Bible, it might be an instant turn off for some of them because they might say they can't pray. And I know older persons normally tell the youth that, oh, you don't have to talk a certain way to be praying. But it's not that case for everybody because they feel that they have to talk a certain way to be praying. And they might feel embarrassed when they go up there and they feel like they didn't do it right. Because us as youths in our head, we just think, oh, we didn't do it right. So, and they might not want to come back again. So, and another thing I believe, another thing I believe is that youths need guidance. We don't like to be left on our own. And as I was saying with the praying scenario, if we have like mentors for the youths in the church that will work with them so they can build their confidence, that they are able to, they don't have to feel shy when they're called on in the church to do certain things anymore because they have been working with persons in the church, the older ones, so they will eventually be able to take on leadership opportunities in the church when their time has come. So those are my two things: less pressure and more guidance.
Yes.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hearing me clearly now?
Yes, a little.
Yes, I was saying, you were saying earlier about youth pastors in the churches as well.
Yes, sir. About the youth pastors, it would be somebody for them that they could relate to more because, as you say, youths need to feel comfortable at church. Not all the time they want to sit and listen to the older members. Sometimes they want somebody who they can relate to. So that was my point about the youth pastor.
I think, yeah, so and it all boils down again like to a mentorship program. So have new youths coming in, or even with the other youths, because youths go through different struggles. So
yes, they do.
Somebody who can be there to assist, somebody who has been there and done that. That's how we young people talk. Been there, you have done that. So somebody who can really help you out in your struggles and challenges.
Because when older persons speak, they don't feel like, oh yes, they really went through it, but they'll believe it from a person who is in a close age group to them.
Yeah, they will listen more. They identify more with them. All right. I'm gonna go to Lelanie. How much support are you provided with? How much support are you provided with in terms of your leadership growth?
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, with the 10 being the highest, I would give the support an 8. There are certain areas of support. There are certain areas of support that needs building and improvement, but with the continued effort, there should be better support for youth leaders. I believe that from the parish level, there should be leadership skills in the churches so that these skills that were developed could be passed on to the upcoming youth through mentorship. Sometimes the leadership skills that most poses in a different type is not fitting for the church space, while on another hand, there are few who display good qualities and just need more grooming. So these strategies, I believe, will help to provide leadership growth in youths.
Thank you, Lelanie. Yes. And I would even go further to say with what you said, this is a start. This setting here, this forum is a start where we can, begin to develop those leadership abilities in our different churches so as to make our youth fellowships, our youth groups, make them even more strong, make them stronger, make them more vibrant, and make them more effective. And I would reserve the last question to Trey. Last question, what role does the youth play in your church? What role does the youth play in SAP? Trey is there. Is Mr. on? Seem to have lost him. We seem to have on Trey at all. All right. But anyone, let me pose a question to anybody in the wider room. What role does the youth play in your church? Just Tyrone, you can go ahead and speak, and Brian is next after.
Good morning, everyone. In my church, the youths play a role of singing and Bible reading. Well, those are the only two.
So doing two roles, okay, all right, that's a start, yes. I saw Brian put up his hand.
Yes, good morning, guys. All right, so in my church, the youths play the role of praise and worship, media team, hospitality, basically any and everything, because the youths in my church are heavily involved. Not a matter of being forced to be, but just by recognizing in certain areas where persons need to be, we try our best to step up. We approach persons in leadership positions and say, hey, we are available. We might not know what we're doing, but if you're willing to guide us, we're willing to learn and help to execute certain tasks. Yeah, because like I mentioned my media team exactly, because I am second in command, and it's basically youths. We have one, as we say, mature individual on the team. So it's just the youths running camera, streaming, and the praise team is youth-led. Yeah, because what I realized in my church, we try to encourage mentorship towards youth. Because my church population would be considered elderly. So what they're trying to do now is it's a new pilot program that came into concept last year. We have the mentorship program to bring in young persons, and we always encourage feedback. We always encourage our young persons to speak, voice your opinion. Might not always like the responses we get, but yeah, that's the involvement part for us.
It might be true in all churches that the population, you might have one and two churches that have a mixed population, or a good ratio of I don't want to say old, but let me say it, old and young. But most of the churches you find that there's a more heavy skewing to the elderly than you have young persons in the church. And so you're not going to find that, you're not going to see that the older persons, will gravitate towards doing multimedia. They're more towards doing the hospitality. They're more towards doing the hospitality for the pastor, for any visiting preacher. They are more towards singing on the choir. They are more towards Sunday school teaching. And so therefore, you know, the youth, so therefore, that's where the youth come in now, because the youth, they are more technically, they're not more tech savvy. They can help for those churches that stream on whether Facebook or YouTube or wherever. So you know, that's where the youth come in now, that the youth have to come in and they have to put in their expertise and say how, you know, so the churches can still go in a certain direction, and you know, churches can be effectively, and you know, you can broadcast to see what others, and let the world, let others know what you are doing at your particular church. So yes, we're really good and riveting discussion. As I said, we are keeping faith with the word, and never changing, faithful leaders. And so therefore, as we seek to emulate, look at other leaders and understand what leaders are, what other leaders in other emulate their good qualities and seek to incorporate it into our own particular context where we are, whether it be in Fullersfield, whether it be Hebron, Sutcliffe, St. Leonards, wherever. Even I believe we have persons who are good leadership, faithful leadership in our circuits and in our particular churches. So the Lord bless you all, and I now hand back over to my, could I say, my namesake, to our chairperson, Tristan Dixon. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this refreshing panel discussion. I hope all youths have learned something new. Now we will have the thank you to the panelists and moderator done by Abbe Fowles from the Fullersfield circuit, followed by a special selection done by Mikayla, who is also from Fullersfield circuit.
Good morning, everyone. It gives me great pleasure on behalf of all the participants to move this vote of thanks to the panelists and moderator of this event for the outstanding work they did today in sharing with us their wealth of knowledge. I want to thank the moderator, Mr. Tristan Richards, for the able way in which he has guided this session. Special thanks to the panelists. You have all enabled us to better understand the theme. We promise to put in practice the things we have learned from what you have shared. Thank you.
Is Kayla here from the Fullersfield circuit? Okay, now we will have the introduction of the guest speaker done by Charm Evans.
Hold on, we'll take Kayla's song. She sent it in.
Christ alone, my hope is found. He's my light, my strength, my song. This cornerstone, this solid ground, firm to the faces, drought and storm. What heights of love, what depths of peace, when fears are still, when striving cease, my comforter, my all in all. Here in the love of Christ I stand. In Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless babe, this gift of love and righteousness, scorned by the ones he came to save, till on that cross as Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied. For every sin on him was laid. Here in the death of Christ I live. There in the ground his body lay, light of the world by darkness slain, bursting forth in glorious day. Out from the grave he rose again, and as he stands in victory, since curse has lost its grip on me, for I am his and he is mine, bought with the precious blood of Christ. No guilt in life, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me. Lies prescribed through final breath. Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from his hand. Till he returns or calls me home, here in the power of Christ I'll stand. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from his hand. Till he returns or calls me home, here.
The introduction of the guest speaker will be done by Charms Evans, followed by guest speaker Miss Shaneil Service-Alleyne presentation.
Thank you, Tristan. Chairperson, panelists, attendees, a pleasant good afternoon. It is truly a privilege to be tasked with introducing today's guest speaker, who will be dissecting the topic of leadership. Our guest speaker for today is a highly motivated, ambitious individual with unparalleled work ethic. She is a worshiper at the Jericho Baptist Church in St. Catherine and a member of the St. Catherine Baptist Association, who is committed to the ministry of Go and Tell. She strongly believes that every young person has something that they can offer in the ministry and serving God. She has played and continues to play her part in leadership. This trailblazing woman of God is the president of the Jamaica Baptist Union Youth Department, which is geared towards witnessing young people and engaging them in the ministry of mission and evangelism. It is no surprise that such a phenomenal woman has graced the path of excellence in higher education. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Language Communication and Society and a Master's of Arts in Integrated Marketing and Communication. She currently works as an administrative assistant at the Jamaica National Bank. To say that she is competent to present on the topic of leadership is an understatement, because she is more than capable of doing so. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Miss Shaneil Service-Alleyne. Miss Alleyne, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I hope that I am loud and clear for you all. Thank you very much, Charm, for such a wonderful introduction. I don't think I've ever quite been introduced so well. And I thank you for your kind words, and I really hope that I can live up to all that you have laid the groundwork for just now. Thank you all for having me. It's great to be here. And before we begin, let us just go to God for a brief moment of prayer. Let us pray. Indeed, Lord, we thank you. We thank you for availing yourself to your young people, to allow them to be gathered in such a fashion where we can share, we can talk, we can learn from each other. And even now, Lord, I ask that you just continue to be with us, continue to guide the discussion, guide the thoughts. May everything that is done and said and shared here in this atmosphere be worthy of you. Let it be something that you can use and help to build and further your kingdom here on earth. We cancel self, mighty God, and we just give everything that we are over to you as we give you honor, glory, and praise through your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, thank you once again, Westmoreland Parish Youth Association. Thank you for having me. It is indeed a pleasure. And I must commend your team, your leadership team, for having such an event as this. It is most crucial for us to meet ever so often as young people to discuss the business of leadership and how we can continue on the path that we are on. So I must commend you all for engaging in this sort of an event, and I do hope that it will be a blessing to someone, as someone would have learned something significant from this, and that we will just be growing from strength to strength. I have been given a time slot for my presentation, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can move along quickly. All right, I do hope that it is being seen. Can somebody just confirm that we're seeing? All right, great. Do I need to widen it? I'm not sure what your version looks like.
You could put in Chan.
All right, let me try that. Let me see if I'm that good. Is that working?
Bingo, you got it.
All right. So thank you, Jevroy. And on that note, welcome to all our pastors who are joining in. It's a pleasure to have you guys with us, and also to all members of the Jamaica Baptist Union Youth Department Executive Body who are here to give their support. It's a pleasure having you guys on the team joining in. So I'm not able to see the chat because I'm screen sharing. So if there is anything that is being shared, someone can just let me know real quick if there's anything that I need to acknowledge. All right. So my focus for today is stirring faithful leadership in ministry. And I struggled a little bit over the initial word. When I thought of it, I was like, we have leaders, and then sometimes I find that we go through stages in our ministry responsibility. We start out all good, all hot and fiery, ready to go. And then somewhere along the line, it doesn't quite continue on the same path. So when we're talking now about stirring faithful leadership, we are talking about the act of renewing, of getting things going again, of stirring a little within the woodwork, within the coal, so that we can get the fire burning bright again. If we're embracing our faithful leaders, we need to ensure that we will have faithful leaders going forward, right? So what is this leadership that we're talking about? Everybody has a different concept in their mind. What does leadership look like? So a general description of leadership says that leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the effort of others towards the achievement of a goal. And this is one that was given by Kevin Cruz, who is a CEO. So that's his point of view. Now, church leadership, on the other hand, is about serving others in accordance with Christ's interests so that they can see and accomplish God's purpose for them in the world. I want us to think on that a little bit. And for those of us who hold leadership capacities, I want us to start thinking, is this what I'm doing? Do I do this? Do I serve persons in accordance with Christ's interests or in accordance with my own interests? Am I allowing them to accomplish God's purpose for them on this world, or am I just leading them to no proper goal in mind? Something to think about, all right? Now, what does the Bible say? 1 Timothy 3, reading from verses 1 to 7. I believe most of us, if not all of us, should be familiar with this particular passage. I took the liberty of taking this scripture from the Message version, which breaks it down for us a bit more clearly than any other version would. So the Message version says, if anyone wants to provide leadership in the church, that's good. But there are preconditions. A leader must be well thought of, committed to his wife, cool and collected, accessible and hospitable. Are we thinking? Does this speak to us? Is this what we're doing? He must know what he's talking about, not be over fond of wine, not pushy, but gentle, not thin-skinned, not money hungry. He must handle his own affairs well, attentive to his own children and having their respect. For if someone is unable to handle his own affairs, how can he take care of God's church? He must not be a new believer, lest the position go to his head and the devil trip him up. Outsiders must think well of him, or else the devil will figure out a way to lure him into his trap. I don't think we need anything more than that. This Message version speaks about leadership. In the NIV, it says overseer. And in the King James, I think it speaks specifically to those who want to be deacons. But either way, we're talking about persons who hold positions within our churches. And this is what the Bible says. It's not me says so. We never hear it from nobody. There it is for you guys. Clear, right? So we need to be thinking as we go along, and we're trying to get our leadership on track. We're trying to find persons who are leaders. We're trying to revive our fellowships and so on. And you can't do that without a leader, right? We need to be thinking along the line. Are the persons who we're looking at, are they showcasing these values? Are they prone to showcase these values? Is it something that we can see that they will grow into? The persons who we have currently before us, we may not all get along, but are they showing these values? Because this is what the Bible says, all right? Now, the description is very hard to live up to, but it is what most people expect of leaders in church, and it is what should happen in church, right? When leaders fail to live up to this expectation, there can be internal strife and a loss of faith in the ministry. And this is something, young people, that we have to be very careful of. Our role as leaders in the church is not just for those who are in the church, but those on the outside who we need to come into the faith of Christ. They are looking on us and they are thinking, am I seeing anything here that entices me to be a part of this ministry? Is there anything keeping me to continue serving in this ministry? If there is nothing there that speaks to the level that Christ asks us to live to, then we're going to be losing out. Now, there are different leadership styles. This chart that I've presented here shows 10 such styles, right? And we may find that throughout life as we go to school and we join the workforce and so on, that we will see different types of leadership style. Even within the church, there may be represented different leadership styles. Guys, everyone doesn't lead the same way. And you can't use one person's measurement for another person, right? So everybody has to have their own method of doing things. However, what the Bible teaches us is that we should be focusing on what is listed here as number 3, the servant leadership. So that's the one that we want to focus on today, servant leadership. Matthew 20:25-28, and this is NIV. But Jesus called them to him and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. It shall not be so among you, but whoever would be great among you must be a servant, and whoever would be first among you must be your slave. Even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." I don't think we need to expound anymore on that. It's quite clear. And I love the Bible so much that it's so comprehensive. Any question that you could ever have, you are able to source it from the Bible. That is the wonderful gift of God, that he does not leave questions unanswered, right? So what is this saying to us? The Gentiles in that time, they would lord their authority over the people. But what did Jesus say? Whoever wants to be great among you must first be a servant. So the kind of person Jesus talks about in Matthew 20, a servant leader, that is what we should be going for. That was Christ's example. While he was here on earth, he served. He served the people. He sat and ate with all those who he shouldn't have in their mind. You know, he was so low in stature that persons, I guess they would have probably called him same fool, you know, him humble so still him fool. And some of you probably get that title now, him humble so still him fool. But what? You are a servant leader. That is what you are called to do. So your goal in leadership is not to grab power. It's not to hoard it, and it's not to lord it over anyone and be like, oh, I am the leader. I am strong and mighty, and you must listen to me. No. If that is your approach, if that is the approach of the leaders around you, then someone needs to take them back to Matthew 20, because as a leader, you are a servant. Your first goal in the leadership of Christ is to serve. So leadership isn't about making our names known. Nobody needs to know who I am, right? At the end of the day, they should know who God is. That is my role as a leader. Leadership in Christ. It's making God's name known and having the ability to love and respect the people in our care, using the authority we've been given with grace. These things, guys, it can get to your head. You know, people treat you more respectfully when they understand that you have position. We see it all the time in Jamaica in our political landscape. Our leaders, we elect them, you know, we are the ones who give them the power, but they turn around and abuse it, right? And in turn, they abuse us. No, that is not what it should be. And definitely within Christ's kingdom, that's not how it should be. Your leader must be a servant. They must be respectful. They must love you, and they must use their authority with grace. So while I'm telling you what the leadership should look like, I'm also saying this for you guys to understand when you are coming into your leadership role, what you should be emulating. So how to be an effective servant leader? Couple of things that we can talk about, right? I have listed a few here. Guys, this is not an exhaustive list because it can go into so many other scopes. But for me, these are the ones that I think are important, the ones that I have found to be important throughout my time serving in God's kingdom. So one, you must have vision, right? You should be able to say to the people, where are we going? Where are we taking this thing? And it doesn't mean that you need to have a 10-year, 20-year goal, right? But be able to say to the people, all right, this is where we expect our ministry to go, right? We need to ensure that if we're having youth fellowship meeting, we're not just meeting just because it's on the calendar of things to be done, right? We need to have a vision to say, okay, we're meeting because in the next baptism, we want to have 2 candidates going up, you know? So have a vision. What is it that we're expecting to happen from this body that we are leading? 2, seek knowledge. I know as young people, sometimes I hear the panel, and you know, it's very interesting. I found a lot of interesting comments coming out of that panel discussion just now. And one thing I would love to emphasize, guys, is that we cannot do anything without our elders, right? We feel that we have it, and you know, we're so much more savvy than they are, and you know, we can run this thing, but we really can't. And I believe one of the panelists also said that we need the guidance. Even myself, as big as I am, I'm not there as yet, and I always need to refer to others before me, others that are older than I am, to still guide me. And it's not a case where you will just say to yourself, you know, maybe I need to just wait on them to come and tell me. No, this point says you are to seek it, right? You are the one who is in the position or looking to be in the position. Go out there and learn how the thing works, right? Shaneil Powell, who served as chairman before me and now the immediate past chair of the youth department, a part of her charge that she shared was that while she was a part of the youth department on the outside looking in on the executive, she decided a long time ago that she had to be the chair of the youth department. She saw that, and so what did she do? She started to emulate those around her. She went out and she got the information and she found out about people and how things are done and so on. So go after the knowledge that will help you to take you where you want to be. Guys, be passionate. Now, in the panel discussion before, the whole thing about priority came up, you know, and I find that it is something that as young people, we struggle a lot with. And notice I said as young people, we, right? It's not just you guys and what you think. I'm also a part of it. And what I find is that priority has a lot to do with passion. That's what I found. You prioritize what you are passionate about. You are passionate about school, so that is your priority. When it is your study time, it's your study time and nobody can take you away from it. In the same way, some of us are passionate about church and about the things of God. So when it is time for church or church work or anything to do, you're on it. You know, nobody can tear you away from it. And guys, that's the level that we need to be at. We need to be passionate about Christ. We need to be passionate about the gospel and about the ministry of God. Now, some of you may be saying, yeah, I'm in it, but I don't feel that burning passion like how Shaneil have it, you know? She's always ready to go and I'm just here. Guys, it's something that you can pray about. I love the God that I serve in that he's always available for every little thing. And some of you may feel that you're not passionate, but you strive to be passionate. Talk to God about it. Say to him, say, God, I'm not feeling that burning for you. I'm not feeling that burning for your work, and I need to get more of you. Ask him. Ask him, and he will give it to you. He will put you in situations where you have to find yourself come up, literally coming up, right? So that is something that I would implore all of you. If you don't have the passion, don't park yourself in a corner and be like, oh, not my thing. Find something that you're passionate about. So maybe the music is not your passion. That's okay. What about the media part of it, right? As someone shared, I think it was Brian was sharing that in his church, the young people do that. All right, so let's say that's not your passion. What about the hospitality part of it? What about being an usher? You know, what about the plans around the church? Do you see a way that, you know, you can use the church land to benefit the community more? You know, find an area, find something that you are passionate about, and you and your friend don't need to be passionate about the same thing. It's okay. All right, it's okay to be your own person and to have your own passion, as long as it serves the ministry of God. Next thing, be a learner. You have to, I think that goes without explaining. You have to learn. Same thing that we say, seek after the knowledge, be willing to learn. So when people come to you and they're imparting things to you and they're sharing and telling you how it goes, don't brush them off, you know, be willing to learn. And that flows within the same avenue of being a listener. I'm going to skip one, be a listener. Don't just hear something and it come in here, so go out here, so and never the twain shall meet. You have to be able to learn and to listen effectively if you want to enter this pathway of servant leadership. And then you have to have perseverance. You have to be willing to go at it. Guys, people are going to tell you things, and people are going to look at you, and that's human behavior, right? Do not let human behavior take you away from the glory of Christ and from what he has called you to do. Humans will talk because we like talk. We like to look and criticize. That's just our nature. But it doesn't mean that every little thing you need to be following up on it and nitpicking on it and believing that, you know, oh, because Pam did say that about me, then, you know, me not think me I got bother. No. You have to have that drive, coming back to the passion inside you, that no matter what people may say or how funny they look at you, you persevere. Christ persevered through a lot of things. A lot of the naysayers, a lot of the persons who laugh off time and say, no, the carpenter boy this, right? Even as a child, he got that. But what? He persevered because he understood the goal that was ahead of him and what he was called to do. And then finally, guys, on this section, be a follower. You can't lead unless you follow. And I hope that that's something that we all can just get on one go. Because you cannot be leading a group of persons if you have never followed, so you don't know what's going on behind you. You have to be able to wear everybody's shoes, basically, and understand where they are coming from in order to be an effective leader. So sometimes that may mean that you need to take a back seat and you need to observe rather than speak, right? But be willing to take on that role, because that's how you will enhance your leadership capabilities. Now, how do we identify leaders? And this can go for those who are looking for persons to take on new roles in the church, within the youth fellowship, within the young adult fellowship, within the parish, right? Maybe you're looking for somebody to take over, somebody to train for a particular role. Or maybe it's you yourself are wondering, you know, is this me? What do I have that I can bring to the table? So this is what we do. Identifying leaders, these are some of the qualities. And again, not an exhaustive list. It can take on the scope of other things. But for one, we may find that persons are persuasive. Have you ever met that person who, for some strange reason, you can't tell them no? And it's not in a bad way. It's a case where, like, they come to you and they would probably be like, you can say a prayer for me today in church. And just the way they said it, the way they approached you, the way they're looking at you sometimes, it just literally make you feel as though you cannot say no to that person. Or you yourself may find that you have a special gift, a special knack for talking to people, that you're able to get them to do things that's probably a little bit outside of their comfort zone. If you find that you have that kind of persuasive quality, then it means that you do have something that can breed a leader within you, right? Something that can bring up that leadership within you, because you are able to move persons outside of their usual zone and you're able to get them going, all right? Leaders, they're ready and willing to be involved. You don't have to ask them twice. You say, somebody, we need to clean the church windows this Sunday, and they're the first one, hands up. They're ready to go, right? They are always looking and saying, maybe I can do this or I can do that. They're very involved. They're very committed, right? Those are the kind of persons that will stir up leadership. Another thing, they take initiative and they lead by example. So yes, on one hand, they're ready and willing. Anytime you say anything, they jump. But on the same hand, they take the initiative. So they don't necessarily wait on you to say anything. They may be the one to look and say, oh, the church window need cleaning. We can meet this Saturday and clean the church window. Just like that, right? So they don't always wait to be told. And sometimes they don't draw a crowd. They just do it themselves. And in doing so, they're able to get others to join in. So those types of qualities stir up leadership. Another thing, they're concerned about the ministry. A lot of us, we go to church, but that's about it, right? And I think I would say I used to be in that category too. I used to go to church, but I was not involved in church. So a lot of the things would not be a concern to me. A lot of things passed me by when I was much younger. But as I got older, as I grew in the church ministry and I saw things happening around me and I got drawn in by friends and family members and so on, I got concerned about the ministry. I'm concerned about our young people. I'm concerned about why they don't feel compelled to be in God's presence, why they don't feel compelled to join in the things that are ministry to me. I'm concerned about continuity. I'm concerned about the church land. And these are just some of the things that are my concern. I'm concerned about those who are always on Zoom and you don't see them anywhere in the church building, even with the restrictions being lifted. Right? Those things are my concern. I'm concerned about the young people who have gone away to college and you don't see them coming back and you don't hear from them. Nobody knows where they are. Right? Those are my concerns. Those are my burdens. Right? And some of you may share them or you may have other kind of burdens. So you're concerned about the ministry, you're concerned about where it's going and how it's going to get there, then you have leadership quality. Another good trait, they're not looking for personal benefit. So coming back to what we shared earlier, you're not looking to make your name known. You're not looking to grab power and exert it over people. No, you have very little regard actually for your own self when you find yourself involved in ministry. It's not about you. And you may find that you give so much, you give, and this can be your time, your energy, your effort, your money. You're giving it to the ministry and it doesn't feel like a burden to you because you're not looking for any personal benefit to come out of this. You are doing something that you feel is simply your calling. And on that same line, leaders are not complainers. They're not busy saying, oh, why is always me wanna do this? Know anybody like that? Why is always me wanna do this? Why is always me one? Why is always my name a call? Why them make me pray every minute? Why me always have to read the Bible? No, leaders are not concerned about that. What we want to know is that we are doing something, it is benefiting others, and all we need to be is an example. That's what leaders are concerned about, being an example. We're not busy complaining that we're doing too much because we're busy saying, wow, the more I do this, someone else is looking on, and then they too will become involved and start doing this thing too. And another thing, leaders, They have some biblical knowledge and they constantly seek more. I believe one of our panelists said that they want to learn more about the Bible. They want to learn more about the hymns. I thought that was such a profound point, because it's something that I'm always saying. Why aren't young people more involved in knowing the hymnals? Because yes, them all and can be so drawn out and hit some really high notes where we can't manage, but they have depth. Those songs have depth, and if you were to really stop and meditate and listen to them, you may find yourself exploring some avenues within yourself that you didn't even know about, finding some strengths that you didn't know about. So those kind of persons, those persons are leaders. They want to know more about the Bible. They're always researching, they're asking questions, they're turning up to Bible study. They need to know. Right? And those are the persons who we see exhibiting leadership qualities. So if you are looking for leaders in your church, or you are looking for somebody who can take over from you, somebody who can come up within the parish association, or someone that can come up in the church body, the circuit body itself, then this is a guy that can help you. And some of you, I really hope that you're thinking already and you're saying, but you know, as this so-and-so, they have that kind of a quality. That's the kind of way that I want us to be thinking. And it could be you yourself, as I said before. Look at this list. Is there anything on this that speaks to you? Anything on this that you can say, you know, that's really how I am, that's how I feel about things? Then that means that you have the qualities of a leader and you just need to step up to it, right? So what if you don't have any of these qualities? It's something that persons, I think, internalize a lot in the church. They say, oh, not me. You know, I'm not that kind of a person. Yes, I will do things, but I only do things if you ask me. I'm not going out of my way to lead the charge or to get the thing done. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. What I will draw your attention to, however, is 1 Peter 4:10-11. And here's what it says. As each one has received a special gift, employ it in serving one another as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. Whoever speaks is to do so as one who is speaking the utterances of God. Whoever serves is to do so as one who is serving by the strength of God, which God supplies, so that in all things God may be glorified through Jesus Christ, to whom belongs the glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. What is this saying to us, young people? Everybody has a gift. So your gift may not be leadership. Nothing wrong with that. But what is the Bible saying to us? Everybody got something from God. And if you never get it yet, you shall surely get it. So just wait patiently on God and ask him to reveal to you what your special gift is. The important thing, young people, is for us to exercise that gift in the Lord. So we need to speak, we need to serve, because God is the one who gives us these things and he needs it to glorify his kingdom. So what are we going to do? Maybe you're not a leader, but maybe you're an encourager. Anybody ever heard of Barnabas in the Bible? Barnabas' nickname, his nickname Barnabas literally means the encourager. And what was Barnabas' quality in the Bible? He encouraged. He was able to somehow move persons from a state of downward to upward. He was able to speak and articulate in persons' life. He was a great friend of Paul, and we know the works of Paul throughout the Bible. In the New Testament, he's all over. I don't know, sometimes I think, would we have a New Testament without Paul, right? And who was the backbone behind all of that? It was Barnabas. Barnabas was the one that found Paul and brought him to the people. Remember, Paul used to stone the Christian them, you know. Remember, he was their persecutor. And Barnabas was able to speak on Paul's behalf to get him in the church and started getting him involved. And then Paul himself became such a great leader. He became a great leader because he had a Barnabas in his life. So some of us are not going to be leaders but we can be encouragers. We can be the backbone behind the person who is the leader. So you need to start thinking, do I have that kind of a quality that I can maybe not be the one on the front page, but I can push someone to get on the front page? Nothing is wrong with that. It was there in the Bible, so you can do it too. Be a caregiver, right? The Bible tells us about Dorcas. Dorcas was the kind of a person who gave. In Paul's time, she was able to give to persons. She used to give them the cloth and so on and contribute to the ministry. So some of us, we may not be able to take the front page, but again, behind the scenes, maybe you're the one looking after the person who is taking the front page, right? You're making sure that everything that they need, that they have it. You're making sure that the finances are there to get the ministry work done. You're making sure that if we have a food drive, you're getting the food stuff together, right? If we're having a clothes drive, you're doing the same thing. You are the person who know who to go to, right? That is your role, and nothing is wrong with that, guys. If you are a caregiver, continue to do that. Some of us may find that we have nurturing qualities. You're just naturally a nurturer, and nothing is wrong with that. You can go on and be that kind of a person who helps others in the background. Be a follower. Jesus had 12 disciples, right? He had all of 12 disciples. Be a follower. It is a great role to have. Jesus would probably have been so alone without those 12 persons with him, helping him to be, to be his supporter, helping him to maybe, I always think that probably Jesus was using them to practice, when he was sharing his sermons and so on. Because even Jesus, remember, he had the qualities of man. So maybe him did have a little stage fright too, but he had his 12 disciples, so he could use them to say, all right, if we can talk to them 12 here, then we can talk to 1,200, right? So be a follower, be the person who is there, who somebody can bounce ideas off, help to plan events and so on, help to organize. Be the kind of person who can push back the crowd if the crowd get too much, who can suggest ideas and say, make we go over to the other side, So nothing is wrong, again, with not being the leader, but you can be a follower and be a great follower. The world tells us that to be a follower has something of a bad connotation, right? In school, them tell you, why you always a follow back at this one and whatever. And it's true, because if you follow behind the wrong thing or the wrong person, you get yourself in trouble. So don't get me wrong, young people. It's not everything you have to follow behind. But once you are able to identify that this person is leading in the right way with the right qualities, you test them against 1 Timothy 3, and you see that they have matched up, and you say, yeah, man, this person has the qualities of leadership. Then you can say, yes, this is the person that I want to follow behind, right? So bear those things in mind, and I just get up and follow. So you have to test the person, test their leadership qualities, and then decide to be that person's supporter or follower. Be a challenger. Some of us are very quiet. We will go to youth fellowship, but we won't say much. We go to young adult meeting, but we say very little. Even within the church, we come, we observe, we may participate, but we don't enunciate, we don't speak, we don't challenge anything. Nothing is wrong if you have an idea and you see persons going a certain way, and you can tap them on the shoulder, quite gently, and say, excuse me, what about doing it this way? Mordecai was such a person in the Bible for me. If you're familiar with the Esther story, Esther was going one way, she was probably quite content to be where she was, but Mordecai had to touch her and say, no, Esther, your people, them outfit dead, and you are in this position at such a time as this, and we need you. He challenged her. Because in the passage, it says that he said to her, look here, God put you in this position to do such a thing for your people, because this is the situation that we're in. But if you not do it, God is going to move you out of the way, and he's going to get somebody else to do the work that you're supposed to do. So he challenged her. He woke up something inside of her to say, no, man, let me stop and think about this and approach it a different way. So you can too be that person who can challenge the leadership, not to be brawling, not to be fighting down the leader and, you know, basically telling them that them don't know what them do and them not make no sense. But no, you can be the person who will say, how about we look at it this way? Or I have a suggestion that I think may work. Or have we ever considered? Those words, those phrases will help somebody who is in a leadership position to stop and be like, oh, that's a thought. Let's give it a try. And all because you stood up and you spoke and you were the challenger. All right? Be a participant, guys. Being on the sideline is only so good. It's only so much fun. Every now and then, jump in, give your time, give your effort, and help the person who is the leader. A great leader is nothing if they don't have helpers, if they don't have participants, people to carry along the word. The leader will have all the great ideas, but if there's nobody to help with the execution, then it's over. So be a participant. And finally, guys, this one is very special to me. Serve the children. I know it may sound a little weird, but let me explain. What I found is that sometimes it gets daunting for you to appear in front of a crowd of persons who, to your mind, they know it. They know how this thing works. They know how everything goes. I believe one of the panelists was saying, you know, sometimes they ask you to pray and you feel shy to pray because you don't think you're doing it like how the elders do it. And then even though them say to you, no man, it's all right. You don't have to say a lot of words. You don't have to use big words, but you still feel a little off, like, me not do it right. What I found a secret for serving in church is that you can start small. Start with the babies. I hope that most of our churches have young people where we can have whether like a junior church or even the little kiddies church, Sunday school with them and so on. Sometimes as a youth, you don't need your crowd, but you need something smaller. Nothing is more precious than the innocence of a child and how they interpret the Bible and how they interpret church and God's word. And you may surprise yourself that when you spend time with them and see through their eyes, it helps you to be a better person. It helps you to be a better follower, a better encourager, a better challenger, and a better supporter of the leadership overall. So don't be afraid to spend time with the children in whatever way that you're able to do it. And maybe your church or your circuit don't have a lot of babies. Maybe you're just trying to get that kind of a ministry going, but go out in the community, seek them out, challenge yourself to go out and get them, have a little fun day or something of the sort that you can get the babies. Because without the babies, you know, as good as young people are, you still need the younger ones. Without them, the church is going nowhere. So go for them, find them wherever they are and spend time serving them. So maybe you can't manage the big crowd, but you can manage the little ones. You can help them with the smaller stories in the Bible. You can help to break things down for them. And in so doing, guys, you will be surprised how it helps to build your confidence. It helps to build your knowledge. It helps to build your initiative. And before you know it, you are the one exhibiting all these great leadership qualities simply because you thought to start small. So that's just a little snippet. I'm throwing that one in for free for anyone who feels intimidated. No, children can't intimidate you. They're too sweet and precious. So go and spend time with them. Immerse yourself in their innocence, and you'd be surprised what that does for your self-esteem, and your leadership qualities will come out. Now, how do we encourage youth leadership? I'm sharing this for the pastors and for those among us who are on our way out, and we need to help those who are coming up and those who are coming up after those who are coming up, right? So how do we encourage youth leadership in our church? Understand that youths are participants and not just observers. So we see them come to church and then probably come to church with their parents and grandparents and so on. And we acknowledge them. Hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you, nice to see you. But we don't involve them. I was very happy to hear that in the panel, it came out that a lot of our church youths are involved in the ministry of the church. They read the Bible, they pray, they are ushers and so on. They work on hospitality committee. That's great. And I would implore all of us to keep that up. And if you haven't started, start now. Your youths are not just there as observers, but they're participants. And how else will they learn if you don't show them? Next thing, get the parents involved. Some young people, I think most young people, I would go out on a limb and say most young people end up coming to church because they came with their parents, older siblings, grandparents, right? If that is the case, if that's how you got them, then don't just forget about the parents. Keep the parents involved. Get them involved. Even if you have older persons in the church who don't necessarily have children, still get them involved in the youth leadership programs, get them involved in the youth programs overall. So why we need to do this? Because we need our youths to see that they're not alone. Somebody alluded to it earlier. We don't want to be alone. When you leave them alone, they get up into all sorts of things and they start leaning on their own understanding. That's not what we want. We need the older folks around us. And I consider myself in very much in that category of older folks now. So I need to be there among my young people. So to encourage them, to let them feel as though, you know, we're there cheering them on and supporting them. It's very much important in getting youth leadership to grow in the church. And the other thing I would challenge is for us to get real with the youths. We need to stop maybe sugarcoating things sometimes. And I was very happy to hear the testimony of the gentleman earlier who said that, you know, sometimes we keep preaching about hell and damnation and we're not telling the young people how to live. We're not telling them what is godly living. We're just telling them live godly or you go hell. Two different things. So we need to get real with our young people. This Bible, we need to open it up. We need to find the stories. We need to find the examples and run it to our young people. Get them focused on the word. There's this Bible. I remember one pastor say, you don't need to watch soap opera. Soap opera is not important as what is in this Bible. It's a lot of drama in there. And reading it would help a lot of us to understand ourselves better and understand the things that we go through and the things that we do. Get real with the young people. And it don't necessarily mean to say every day we need to get up and talk about sex. Sex is not the biggest problem in ministry, I have found. If we fix every other thing, how you live with your neighbor, if we fix that, you'll find that sex not even come up. Because why? You have taught them everything that they need to know, so that is not an issue. Sometimes we get distracted. We get distracted because we think that the biggest sin is sex. And then worse things are happening right under our noses. And then everything gets out of control because we were focusing only on one thing. Get real with the young people. Please, I'm asking. Let us talk to them about living, about godly living, about what it means when you go to school and you're not acting in the right way and people looking on you. And they're saying, but no, she go Fullersfield, right? What do you do in those circumstances? How do you conduct yourself on the road? You know, how do you get other young people to see that this church thing is not just a church thing? It's something meaningful that they too can find stimulating, that they can find encouraging, that they can be a part of. All right? Provide effective example of adult leadership. So the Federation group, for example, that's a group that I look up to a whole lot. Are they providing an effective example of what adult leadership looks like? If that's not happening, then it's something that we need to talk about. Is the Brotherhood providing an effective example of leadership? Are our young men seeing the Brotherhood as something that, you know, they can live up to, as something that they need to work to to become a part of? Or is it all just a group of old men not doing anything? They're not providing any examples, so we're not interested. So we need to check ourselves in terms of what example am I providing to you as a youth leader. And the last thing, strive for effective youth programs. Let's not just have programs because it's there to be done. Let's not just have youth fellowship because youth fellowship for keep. You know, let's not have a crusade just because it's evangelistic season. We need to strive for effective youth programs. So if you find in your church or within your circuit, your area, that maybe the crusade thing don't work, youth crusade or youth conventions don't work, you don't get the people to come, then you need to be thinking what does work, what will get them to come. Maybe a trip is what you need, right? Maybe we need a trip to the beach, or maybe we need to be going to the river or something of the sort, right? But what I would hope is that for each of us, we can examine what we do and how effective it is, and work with the thing that is effective, right? Work with the thing that gets the crowd, that gets people to stay. And when you get them, so not because we're up on beach trip and the whole community are come, means to say it's going to be all fun and frolic. We're going to have devotion on the bus before we leave. And when we're at the beach and we're eating and we're fellowshipping together, and before we leave the beach, we're going to have a little prayer circle or whatever the case is. And when we reach home, we pray again in the churchyard. What we're doing the little things that will draw people in. So then come and then just need a taste. Them just need a glimpse. Guys, you don't need to worry about how God works. Let me just throw this in. You don't need to worry about, you know, is this enough, God? My words to you, my charge and challenge to you guys would just be to do what you can do. Do what you are compelled to do and allow God to finish, right? He is able and he is capable. And sometimes all you need to do is stop being you and allow God to be God. So in closing, when we talk about embracing faithful leaders, it's a huge responsibility. It means that if we're embracing faithful leaders, then the examples are there. It means that we are leading an effective youth ministry. And how can we be certain that we're leading an effective youth ministry? We have to identify our leaders. We have to find the qualities and help to grow those qualities in the church, right? We need to be ensuring that we're nurturing our young people, that we are allowing them to be excited about the gospel. And as a young person, if you are here and you are thinking to yourself, you know, is all of this really necessary for me? Does any of this really pertain to me? You'd be surprised. You would be surprised about what God has in plan for you. I never wanted the roles that I have now. And I'll be very honest that I did not think of myself in any way as how people see me now, right? When I was a young person, I think I was really just going along with the motions. I grew up in a churchyard. I literally grew up in the churchyard because there was a cottage there and that's where I lived, literally in the churchyard. But I never gave my life over to Christ until way after growing up in the church, go college, start work, do everything. Why? Because it's a process. And I want somebody to understand that today, that everything about you is a process, but it's a process that is in God's hand. And when he starts to work in your life, you can't tell him no, because he's God and he's going to do what he has to do to fulfill his purpose in you. So maybe your purpose is leadership, but you don't see it yet. That's okay. Submit your ways to God, submit your plans to God, and let him lead you, right? You can't do anything of your own unless the Lord allows it, young people. So I just wanted to share that little tidbit with you guys. I really hope that it's been a blessing, that it's been a challenge for somebody. I hope that we are now thinking of things in a new dimension and in a new light. I hope that we are thinking to avail ourselves more to the ministry. Don't be afraid because it looks so big and so daunting. And this thing is bigger than me. Everything is bigger than you. Avail yourself to the ministry in the smallest way. Remember, we said it earlier. Start with the children if that's what you believe that you can do, right? Start with something small. Start with a small area and allow God to work. Allow Him to complete you and pray. Pray about the things that you want. So if you believe that you are called into leadership, but you're not seeing it yet and nobody else believes in you, then talk to God about it and say, God, I feel like I could do this, but I'm not seeing anybody to encourage me. I'm not feeling encouraged. And you'd be surprised what He answers you with. Maybe the answer is not yet. Maybe the answer is, I need you to grow a little bit more in your faith. Maybe the answer is, go and read your Bible. I'm working on it. That's how God is. But we have to come to a place where we are able to submit these things to Him, and then He will yield the increase in His timing. So I will leave those words with you, young people. I really hope that you were blessed, that you have stopped to examine some part of yourself, and that you have found a new purpose in ministry and a new challenge to work with God as He uses you in His time and in His way. So thank you for having me. It was a pleasure, and I wish you all the best as you go on in your purpose.
Thank you, Mrs. Arlene, for the very much informative presentation. I have learned a lot today, and I hope that everyone using this platform has learned something. Some points that I would like to emphasize are that we are to be challengers. We're to challenge tasks, do things. We're not to stay there, shy away from things. We're not to shy away from challenges, but we're to help and help the leaders in the church. We're to be servant leaders. We are to serve the people and not to grab power. We're to make God's name be known, and we're to respect and love the people we are serving. We're to persevere. We're to go after God. People will discourage us, but we need the drive to go on. We need to go on and ignore the negative comments that we may get, and in the end, we will go through. Now, I would ask everyone to open their microphones to give Mrs. Arlene a very well-rousing applaud. Now we will have the thank you to the guest speaker by Sister Colleen Thorpe from the Savanna-la-mar circuit.
Good evening. Good afternoon, everybody. Now, Mr. Chairperson and our guest speaker, Miss Allen. It is and our most valuable panelists, everyone. It's really a privilege and an honor to be asked to propose a vote of thanks in this youth seminar. It's really an honor to hear everybody speak about possessing Christ-like leadership qualities in an ever-changing world. And it's also really important for us as youths to participate in leadership positions within the church and combining certain issues such as keeping faith during the pandemic and being a servant leader. Special thanks to our guest speaker for allowing us and taking our time out to teaching us about being a servant leader and possessing all the qualities of leadership. Thank you, everybody, for participating in this event. God bless you all.
We will now have an icebreaker, followed by how to conduct a meeting by Missionary Griffiths, the president of Spanish Association of Jamaica.
All right, good afternoon again. Awesome word, Miss Aline. Awesome, Mrs. Aline. We're going to be doing a credit giveaway. Yes, so that's what's going to be happening now. Are you hearing me clearly? If you're hearing me, let me know. Hello?
Yes, you're clear.
All right, so the first giveaway will be a Digicel credit. So if you are the user of a Digicel phone, let's get ready. I'm going to be calling out the numbers. Are you ready? I'm guessing that's a yes. So here is the number, or are the numbers. Ready? Remember, as soon as you get it, you need to tell us. So the numbers are 197-877-056-5064. Anybody got it?
Yes, I got it.
Who got it?
Tristan.
Look here. Oh my gosh, congratulations, sir. And there is a flow credit. Are you ready? Are the flow owners ready? Here are the numbers. The numbers are 504-569-619-84609. Anybody got that one? No one got that one. Should I go again? And Mikayla Hay from Fullersfield has gotten the floor credit. Awesome job, Mikayla and Tristan. And the winner from the first icebreaker was actually Mrs. Williams, Sancia Stewart-Williams. She got all 5 questions correct. I was asking her for the credit, but she had to run off. I was asking to keep it, but she had to run off to get some business done. But she's the winner from the first icebreaker, and her answers are actually in the chat. And so that is it for me.
How to conduct a meeting will be done by Mr. Nerick Griffiths, the president of the Spanish Association of Jamaica. We will take your presentation at this time.
Pleasant afternoon, everyone. Greetings to the chairperson, Mr. Tristan Dixon, to the leaders of the Baptist Circuit of Churches that may be present, and to the young people. And please permit me, I'm not in a position to turn on my camera, but I will be sharing screen. All right. How are we doing this afternoon, first of all? Hello? Are you able to hear me clearly?
Yes, I am.
All right, so I'm going to be asking that you talk to me. I'm not going to be able to see because I'm in sharing mode. So you're going to have to talk back to me. So are you seeing my screen big and gold?
Yes, we are.
Great. All right, so meeting basics. One of the principal things of a meeting, you cannot have a meeting without your notice of meeting. Why? Literally, you may not have any attendees. And the reason for that is just as much as persons are committed to your cause and your organization, they also have things in their personal lives that they are committed to as well. So when we are going to have a meeting, it is important to inform those who need to be a part of the meeting so that they can either confirm their attendance or inform you that that particular time is not convenient. Usually the notice of meeting will tell you the date and time and the location. And these are very important. Location meaning, well, a number of us have gotten this experience. Most meetings now are virtual, much like the one that we're doing. So it allows our persons to multitask while meetings are going on. If it's a physical meeting then or face-to-face meeting, it's important for you to put the exact location, not just the place, but a distinct address for those who might be traveling. In some instances, with a notice of meeting, you'll find that an agenda follows so that persons can prepare themselves ahead of time for the discussions that are to take place. But it's always good when you give notice of a meeting that you tell the purpose of the meeting so that persons are aware of the reason for the meeting. Have you ever had an instance where a meeting was planned, you know that it's a meeting of the youth department and a key member of the team or some persons didn't show up because they didn't know what the meeting was for? They didn't know what we were going to discuss. The notice of the meeting should be so clear that everyone is aware of where the meeting intends to go and how they'll be able to contribute. Any questions? All right. Then, of course, there's a reminder. If the meeting is probably 2 weeks or a week away or even a few days away, it is good to follow up with a reminder because persons do forget. And in this day and age, it is much easier to provide reminders for meetings, especially if you do it digitally. So your Google calendars and your Outlook calendars can be so tailored to provide reminders to your invitees at certain intervals. So let's say you have to give a 2-week notice for a meeting, for example, the meeting of a board. Then you can set a reminder for 2 days before the meeting and add another one for a few hours before the meeting and one for half an hour before the meeting. That prevents you now, once they have accepted the invitation to the meeting or confirmed attendance electronically, it prevents you from having to make a phone call to say, are you coming to the meeting? But they would have been reminded and they would have already confirmed. Then we look at the agenda of the meeting. Agendas will vary based on what the meeting is about and what you intend to cover in the meeting. But there are some things that are static. For example, you will call your meeting to order. You will have your roll call or recording of your attendance. Then you look at your last minutes, if there are any. There may be reports depending on the type of meetings coming from your president, your vice president, secretary, treasurer, and so forth. And then, of course, you look at unfinished business or your updates, new businesses, any other business, and then you move for your adjournment. So your agenda of your meeting is a plan of the meeting, what you intend to cover, and in most instances, who will be doing it so that persons are aware of where or how they contribute to the execution of the meeting.
Mr.
So let us
Griffiths,
look at,
Mr. Griffiths, could you
yes,
can you allow us to see the slides a little bit clearer? They're a bit small on my end. So for example, the agendas.
All right, the agenda is small. What I'll try to do is to send it to you and then you can share it.
Thank you.
No problem. So let us look at the steps to a meeting or steps to meeting. You must notify, then you remind, confirm that persons are actually coming to the meeting, and then you execute. One of the reasons for the confirmation is that for bodies that require a certain number of members in order for a meeting to be executed, you don't want to turn up and out of a team of 10 and you need 6 for the meeting, only 4 turn up and then you're there waiting and then you have to postpone or reschedule the meeting after about 2 hours of waiting. But if you have your confirmations ahead of time, then you can say to persons who may be coming to the meeting ahead of time, based on the confirmation that we've received, we will have to postpone the meeting for another time as we will not have a quorum. All right? Are we clear?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Great. And then the last thing that we'd look at that's not on this slide is the minutes of the meeting. This is basically recording what took place. And it's usually outlined via the items on the agenda. Now, one of the problems most of us have, and I do it as well, I tend to want to capture almost every single detail of the minutes of the meeting. Who said what was the response, and so forth. But you find that one that is time consuming, and to some extent going back to the next meeting to report that Sister Simpson said, Brother Richard said, and then Sister Green said. It makes the minutes long, drawn out, and sometimes persons miss the essence of what is being said. So under the specific agenda items, you list the major points. So let's say that we were talking about a fundraiser. Under the fundraiser, you list your major points. There are plans for a cake sale during the Easter period. And you list the details now that are relating to the cake sale. So plans for a cake sale during the Easter period. 10 cakes are proposed to be sold. 3 will be provided by Sister Simpson. 4 will be provided by the president, and so forth. The projected cost of a slice of cake or a whole cake is X or Y, and you keep the important details in the minutes. Okay? Another good practice at the end of any meeting, at the end or prior to the beginning of another meeting, is to share the minutes of the last meeting ahead of the meeting so that persons can read, become familiar with what was recorded, and should there be any corrections, that when you get to the meeting, instead of the secretary reading the minutes from start to end, that you can move for the confirmation of the minutes and the corrections where necessary. When in doubt, follow your agenda. There's nothing wrong with reading from your agenda and going slavishly from it. Also, relax. Even when meeting with a person or persons that you're comfortable with, you will feel a little nervous, especially if you are the person in charge. But what is important is that you remember that you are working with a team, and without the team, you can't get the job done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nerick Griffiths, on how to conduct a meeting. Now we will have the vote of thanks done by the parish youth president, followed by the benediction.
Pleasant good afternoon, everyone. We say thanks, thanks. We give God thanks for all he has done. We are indeed blessed. It is with great humility that I offer the vote of thanks this afternoon. Thank you to our guest speaker, Sister Shaneil, for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us on this momentous occasion, as we all seek to empower the future leaders of the parish of Westmoreland and Jamaica by extension. Thank you for your adept and informative presentation, which was all encompassing and inspiring. Student Pastor Richards, we sincerely thank you for availing yourself to be used by God in this capacity. Thank you for probing the minds of our youths and initiating conversations that are not just necessary, but helpful as we seek to charter the way forward for our youth in this parish. Mr. Nerrick Griffiths, it is indeed a privilege to have you on board to share quintessential steps and practices that will guarantee better organization and management of our youth meetings. Your presentation was very informative, inspiring, and relevant to our circumstances. To our esteemed panelists, if it were not for you, this seminar would not be as effective as it has been. Thank you for availing yourselves to share and provide a voice for the youths across the parish. Indeed, without a pilot, the plane goes nowhere. Mr. Tristan Dixon, we are indeed grateful for your guiding hands and diligence with which you have led us today. You have guided us well. To all our ministers, deacons, officers, and members, we say thank you. Special thank you to all our visitors, both locally and those overseas who will be viewing. Your presence here today is a profound statement made of the depth of value placed on the lives of our youths across the parish. Thank you to Daisha Sterling and Sister Simpson for the warm welcome and introduction. Members of the Sutcliffe circuit for the spirit-filled devotional exercise. Our parish moderator, Reverend Ross, and our outgoing parish president, Sister Sancia Stewart-Williams, for your greetings. Sister Charm Evans, for introducing the guest speaker so ably. Sister Abigail Fowles, for your wonderful words of appreciation extended to our panel moderator. And also Sister Colleen Thorpe, for your wonderful words of expression and thanks to our guest speaker. Sister Kayla, for your inspirational singing. Last but by no means least, we want to register our sincere thank you to members of the planning committee. Thank you all for extending yourselves to attend our meetings and the invaluable contribution that you have all made. To God be all the glory, great things he has done. And for the benediction. To him who is able to keep you from stumbling and present you before his glorious presence without fault and with great joy, to the only God and our Savior be glory, majesty, power, and authority through Jesus Christ our Lord, before all ages, now and forevermore. Amen. God bless you all, and thank you very much for being a part of this session.